Hey, y'all. Welcome. Y'all, listen, I am trying to get all of my life together today. It has been a day, okay? It has been a day. Let me wipe this off. Let me tell y'all, I have not been able to do much. It has been a busy day. It's a great day. Um, but it's been a super busy day. So I'm trying to get my bearings together. So sorry about coming on just a little bit later than I wanted to. I wanted to start at 9 o'clock, but it's 9:06, and we're just getting started. So if you're here, let me know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, let me know that you are watching the replay. I told you guys that I would commit to coming on for about 15-20 minutes every Tuesday night, and we'll talk about life, business, and mostly marketing, public relations, and media, because that's pretty much the space that we're in, right? And even funding. So I'm going to get right into our topic. And it's interesting that this is the topic that we have today with some of the recent things that happened yesterday, or some of the recent things that happened in the news yesterday. So we're talking about crisis PR and public relations. It's not always about getting you in a magazine or getting you on TV or those things. It's not always the highlight reel. What about when you get negative press? What about when you mess up or something happens? What does that look like? Now, there are firms that's what they do. Okay. They are masters and experts in crisis PR. Every firm handles it, I believe, in some aspect. But if it's a big crisis, I'm going to call a firm that is what they do, for my client. Now, of course, you got to pay for that. You have to pay for your crisis, but that's what it is. So consider crisis PR is negative PR. Like, for instance, the young lady yesterday, I had never heard of her, the country singer who did the national anthem, and she sounded horrible. Most of us heard it, we saw it, and now it was a lot of backlash to it, right? But then it looked like a very emotional response. She was like, "Hey, you know, I I was drunk and I'm turning myself into rehab." And I do believe that there should have been a response. If that's the way that I would have, as her publicist would have advised, probably not like that, right? So understanding how to navigate the space when there's negative publicity. Now, I always look at crisis, even in media training, right? Say you are on an interview and there are some things that you don't want to talk about, or the interviewer twists the subject, like, that's not really what you said, but you can see how they twisted it to make it fit, or to try to stump you, things like that. Teaching you how to actually handle those situations and keep a straight face. A lot of the times there are journalists out there that their goal is to knock you off of your game. But then there's also situations where you, as a person, if you're immature, you haven't grown, or you're doing things that you call crisis and attention to your brand, right? And so then your publicist has to kind of clean that up, and they have to, try to help save the face of your brand. If, in some cases, it's no saving face. You did what you did. Now is, how are we going to recover from that? What does that look like? And so everybody, as entrepreneurs, we don't think about that space when it comes to public relations. We think about, oh, she and Ebony. Oh, I want to be on the Jennifer Hudson show. Oh, I want to be, on NBC, and I want to be on the morning show. All of those things, right? But we don't think about what happens if there is some negative press for any reason around our brand, and how we're going to handle that crisis, and how and am I mature enough to keep face and stand my ground. You don't have to be rude, you don't have to be nasty, but stand your ground and continue to relay your message, no matter what message the publicist, the journalist, the reporter is trying to drive. And so when we look at crisis PR, I mean, there's so many scenarios. I mean, you guys see things that go viral every day, where there's stars or brands that have, moments that probably are not the best. And, you have to think as a small business, that doesn't negate you from having situations like that for your brand. And how do you handle that? What does that really look like? What message are you trying to drive? What message would you like your brand, even in the negative space? Now, people say, negative PR is good PR too, blah blah blah. I agree and I disagree. It kind of depends on the scenario. It depends what the situation is. But you have to begin to look at how you're going to answer those questions. You have to look at those scenarios when what is your face going to be look like when a journalist tries to stump you? You know what I'm saying? If a journalist tries to make sure you're on your game and know what you're talking about. Or now here's the crazy thing about, and I'm not going to say the crazy thing, but here's the thing about it, right? You could have a viewpoint and they can interview you on your viewpoint. That does not mean that they agree with your viewpoint. So they may come with some constructive criticism or straight criticism in your, for your segment. And it could draw some major attention. We saw that, in another situation this week when the guy, can't think of the lady name. The guy asked the lady, what she feels about LGBTQ and all that, right? But I love the way he spun that. If you look at it, he went back and he said, listen, don't just take that clip. I want you to go back and watch the entire interview, because people, no matter if you agree or not, people can have their own opinions, right? It's just the way that you handle it and the way that you do it. So thinking about those, we always look at press as a good thing, and it really can be, but there's sometimes some ebbs and flows and twists in there that could change the trajectory of what you were trying to do and what you were trying to accomplish for your brand. So we always have to look at there may be crisis situations, and how would you handle it? Are you prepared to handle it? And do you have a strong enough team to handle it? And now, as small businesses and entrepreneurs, it may be me, it may be you, your grandma, your auntie, and your cousin, right? Or it may be you and your assistant is very close to you. And, we had a situation years ago, and I think we actually talked about this on live one time, her and I, where my assistant, there was an issue, right? And she reacted like from the city she was in, okay? And I had to say, although that person was absolutely wrong, we still have to come back a different way. Although that person was absolutely positively wrong in the way that they approached the situation, our response has to be different. And so I had her go back, and she had to apologize according to her response, not from the situation, because it was wrong, and we addressed that situation as well in that talk with apology. But had we been a bigger brand, that could have been a big thing, and so there's some things that you just have to nip in the bud, even as smaller brands, and have some structure around, so that you know how to handle it as you grow. The one thing that I want people to understand is like when I was on the news today, she was like, don't get ready, be ready. Like literally, don't get ready, be ready. How would you handle that? And that's not always, the response doesn't have to negatively bash the reporter, because the reporter has a different view as you. Just because the reporter comes out and does a piece on you, you would expect them to have the same view and want them to, but that doesn't mean that's their piece. They can twist that piece the way they want to. They can, think about that all the time. How people say all the time was like, yeah, that's not really, they left some pieces out. Like the whole scene didn't go like that. People will do that to you, even as a small business. And how are you going to handle that? And how that's a small crisis. We've had, we partner with other organizations and work with them. We've had situations where we've had some of our clients that went to jail, like they got arrested. How do we handle that in a way that we don't make this public, but we handle it? You know what I'm saying? How do we handle that in a way that still maintains the integrity of the brand itself? Because this person within the brand made this mistake, but the integrity of the brand, and we will have to deal with them and their character in that situation as well. Always thinking about the different scenarios that come with crisis PR around your brand. Like everybody is not going to, you want everybody to love you. You want everybody to love your brand and what you're doing and your product and service. That may not always be the case. So if that is not always the case, are you prepared to handle it the right way? Or are you going to bring more attention to a negative situation? All right, guys. So I want you guys to really think about these things as you're building the visibility side of your brand. Like, what do you really want that to look like? And how will you handle different scenarios? How would you like to handle? You never know how you're going to handle. I'm one of those people that I gotta fix my face, So I do practice, I practice my facial expressions because I'm not one like, and then, for me, I also have to learn if I feel disrespected, oh, you're gonna see this face and you're gonna know that, and I'm gonna be and usually I'm very quiet. Like I won't say nothing, but my face will tell you everything because if I do say something, I feel like if I say something, is really gonna go off. So so I'm trying to learn how to maintain face, and still say what I need to say because I've been in those situations before. And I, there's different parts of me building and growing as an entrepreneur that I have to work on myself and that I have to grow in myself. And yourself, you got to understand that I understand that it is a business and most small businesses, it's you. So your personality will exude anything else right now. So I have to look at the negative and positives of my personality. I get very quiet. And then if I'm not feeling something, I just get super quiet, like for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to learn to speak up a little bit more in that space, but also learn how to do it in a way that my face does not show. And it's not always negative, it's sometimes positive. And the situation could be fine. It's just me. Maybe I'm going through something right at that time where I can't engage like I would want to, right? I may, have a personal life that's life be lifing, right? And so trying to determine that. So I want you guys to really think about how you would want to handle the good and the bad within your business. Who do you have a spokesperson? Who's the person that can talk for your brand on a consistent basis, whether it's a good scenario or a bad scenario? Who do you know that can hold face? Who do you know that can actually eloquently relay what you want to relate, even in a negative situation? Just because you made somebody the CEO of your brand, that doesn't mean that person is equipped enough to communicate and speak in the communication of the brand in a negative and positive way. Just because they're the treasurer or just because they're cute, just because everybody sees them, that doesn't mean that person is the best person in a crisis situation and or just a good situation to talk and relay most times in the good spaces they're fine, right? Let's not drive it there. But in the bad spaces, can that person keep their face, relay a message, and still maintain the integrity of the brand? Or will people be like, yeah, I seen what they did, but I saw how they reacted, and you know what I'm saying, and have that kind of tick for tack for how they feel about your brand based off of even the way you reacted to a negative situation. There's times where I've seen things and I'm like, oh, I saw what these people did, but I love the way they handled it. I like the way they did that. I like the way they handled it. And it made me, engage with that brand a little bit more just because I like the way that they handled it. So I want you guys to really think about those things as you're building your brand, as you're building your visibility and communication structures of your brand. You have to communicate at all levels, and you have to know how to communicate, and you have to have people ready to effectively communicate for your brand. All right. So I hope this has helped. I'm not going to stay on here long today because it has been a long day and your girl is tired. But I did promise to be on here every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for about 15-20 minutes to give you some tips on marketing, PR, media, sometimes just business in general, and funding as well. Now, I'm really excited to add that piece to the brand. If you have any questions, or if it's a topic that you're interested in me covering, please go ahead and DM me or email me at info@KeandraWard.com. And always, you can go to our website at the KWIcollective.com to learn more about who we are, what we do, and why we do it. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing Tuesday evening, and I'll talk to you soon.